Peace.
So you want to increase muscle mass, but you have no idea what the rep ranges are that you need to be participating in to get that muscle mass growth. You're always sitting there and you're going to the gym and you really don't know what to do, how many reps you want to do, and how many sets you want to do to accomplish the big goal of adding that muscle mass. If that's the question that you always have, this is a video for you. What's up, everybody? I'm Dave Miller from Garage Strength, and I'm going to dive deep into the topic behind increasing muscle mass based off of the rep ranges used. And first, before we start anything, what we need to do is we need to establish what kind of muscle mass growth are we looking for, okay? So if we want to get big, we want big size, we want to gain weight, we want to increase the size of our chest, the size of our shoulders, we are 100% going to be working towards sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. So frequently people will discuss the term of hypertrophy, and the rep ranges are usually 8 to 15 reps, and they're forgetting that there's two different forms of hypertrophy. If we're working under 6 reps, we're still achieving hypertrophy, but we're achieving myofibrillar hypertrophy. So for this discussion specifically revolving around rep ranges for increasing muscle mass or muscle size, we're going to be discussing from a sarcoplasmic hypertrophy perspective. And so what does that mean? Let's dive right into it. First, we're going to start off with what's the energy system that we're looking to use. We are looking to use the anaerobic glycolysis system. So this is ATP is going to be fueling our muscle cells, our muscles, while we are exercising. This is going to be involving rep ranges over or time under tension that's going to be over 30 to 35 seconds. And that 30 to 35 second range is where ATP comes into play, using glycogen. And when we start to use glycogen more as an energy source, that's when we see extracellular water come into the muscle cell, which is increasing our muscle size. That is an absolute key behind understanding how to increase muscle mass. So what's the intensity that we're going to be using? 30% of the time, I like to work in the intensity range of 80 to 100% intensity. So for example, if I'm on the bench press and I want to increase the muscle mass of my side, of my chest, my pecs, 30% of the time, we are going to be working in the 80 to 100% intensity range, okay? So that could be, if my bench press is 300 pounds, I'm going to be working up to 285 pounds, 290 pounds, 300 pounds even, because I want to stimulate my nervous system dramatically. So if we have 10 sets, 3 of those sets are going to be singles, doubles, or triples to get this crazy neurological stimulation, to increase that neural drive, okay? So 30% of the time, we're going to be doing that. Now, if we have 10 sets, let's say 70% of the time, we're going to be working in the rep range, percentage range of 60 to 80%, okay? So the rest of the time in our training, if we've got 10 sets, we're going to do 3 doubles, working up to, 90, 95% of my max, and then we're going to do 7 sets below that. So we might actually do 2 sets of 8 just to warm up, then we do 3 heavy doubles, and then we drop down and we do 5 drop sets, trying to get some serious stimulation. And if we can think about the volume, this is where we go into volume, is that in a week, we want to get 15 to 20 sets per group, okay? So that means if I want to grow my chest, I want to bench 15 to 20 sets a week. We recommend going over a 2-day split where you're going to do an upper body day, a lower body day, an upper body day, and a lower body day. And on those 2 upper body days, we are going to be working anywhere from 15 to 20 sets because we want to bring in this serious growth. Now, if we go back to the intensity aspect behind sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, the reason why I like working in the high intensity range here is because I want to stimulate satellite cells, okay? I spelled that wrong. I did. So I want to stimulate satellite cells by increasing some myofibrillar hypertrophy. So I'm going to do 3 to 4 doubles. So I'm going to increase the recruitment of my satellite cells from a neurological perspective. And then on top of that, when we do our drop sets, we're going to head over, we're going to do 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. And when we do those 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps, we're going to get an ATP response, which is going to bring in intracellular, extracellular water, which is going to increase the size of the sarcomeres, of our sarcomere, which will then test the cellular membrane and potentially lead to cellular membrane splitting. So if we can go back to those very, very heavy sets, our satellite cells, the reservoir of satellite cells is already being activated. And then when we do our drop sets, we're going to come down and we're going to hit sets that are going to respond and then bring that satellite cell to protect the cell membrane. Okay, so we're going to increase strength, and at the exact same time, we're going to increase the size of our muscle cell by working in rep ranges. The money rep ranges here, 8 to 20 reps, or 30 to 90 seconds. Okay, so let's take this, 8 to 20 reps, 30 to 90 seconds. The reason why I use 30 to 90 seconds is because if you're using slow eccentrics, 4 to 5 second eccentric, where you're going to be putting a serious toll on the muscle fibro, on the eccentric portion, that's going to lead to serious growth in your ligaments, your tendons, and in your muscle cells. So to go over what these big sets are, if we can think about it, a big set would be anywhere from 20 to 35 reps. Okay? And where effort comes into play is that we need to be within 1 to 3 reps of failure after each completion of our set to optimize the size of our muscle cells. So if we're going to be doing, let's bring out a perfectly designed day, okay, of a bench press. So we have bench press. Let's go 3 by 7, 3 by 3, 4 by 12 to 15. Okay, so we want to get some serious chest growth, right? So we're going to do 3 sets of 7 in the rep range of 60 to 80%. We're just going to start to bring in a metabolic response. We're going to be tapping into our ATP system, which is going to utilize aquaporin 4 to bring in some extracellular water, which will bring in glycogen into the cell. 3 grams of water for every gram of glycogen. We've got to remember that. Okay, so then we're going to drop down. We're going to be a little bit pumped. We're going to be a little bit aware, but now we're going to drop down into this heavy intensity range. We're doing 3 triples at 90% or 87%. So now that's going to stimulate our nervous system tremendously. And on top of that, that's going to lead to a slight activation of our satellite cells. Okay, because our body's going to believe that it needs to participate in myofibrillar hypertrophy. Then we're going to work back, and we could even do this, 2 by 12, 2 by 25. So now we're going to drop back. We're going to do 2 sets of 12 to 15 reps. And if my max bench is 300 pounds, now we're going to do 2 sets of 12 to 15 reps, around 185 to 205 pounds. Okay, so we're going to do 12 to 15 reps, and we're going to get 1 to 3 reps away from failure. We're not actually going to go to failure, but the work that we're going to be doing is going to be in that 30 to 90 second window, or that 8 to 20 rep range window. And now it's going to trigger a huge metabolic response. We're going to have extracellular water enter into our muscle cells, which is going to expand that muscle cell and lead to that muscle mass gains. And so now we take these big sets. What are big sets? So big sets is anything over 20 to 35 reps while still being in that 30 to 90 second range. So we're going to drop down and we're going to finish off this bench press workout with 2 sets of 25. So we might only have 155 pounds on the bar, and what we're going to be working towards is just constant tension. We're not actually even going to lock out. We're going to stay in that 30 to 90 second range. We're going to go as quickly as we can, and that's going to bring in a massive pump. Okay, so we're going to understand that we're under a tremendous amount of tension. We're going to try to utilize the fast twitch fibers here that we stimulated with those 3 triples, and try to utilize the satellite cells as we drop down here and we bring in a massive amount of extracellular water. That extracellular water is going to expand the sarcoplasm, and that is going to lead to extra growth and extra thickness in my pecs. And if we would take this as one sample training session, now we can take this and we can drop down and we can do dumbbell incline bench and pull-ups, and we're going to sit there and we're going to do 5 sets of 12 to 15, and only one of those sets will actually be going to failure. But over time, that's where we've got to think about effort. You're only going to fail 2 to 4 times in a training session. The big key is getting the volume work and playing around with the intensity accordingly, so that we can stimulate the nervous system enough that you will get a little bit stronger. And then that intensity range that we're going to be using, we want to play around in the anaerobic glycolysis system. So now we're using 8 to 20 reps consistently. We're getting a tremendous amount of volume. We're doing this workout twice a week, and we will see massive gains in our chest, whatever the muscle group that we're working on, our shoulders, our quads, whatever that is. That's the biggest key behind the rep ranges that we will be using to increase muscle mass. So if you want to know more information about this, we've got a blog link down below that dives into sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. We've got a video on sarcoplasmic hypertrophy and an entire blog that dives deep into anaerobic glycolysis. All of this information is going to help you increase your muscle mass. Head over to garagestrength.com and you can pick up a 12-week muscle mass builder for $49.99. If you like this content, like, share, subscribe, share it all over Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Peace.